So as I said during the break, I realized that I was painting wrong. But that's okay. These things happen.
That's exactly how she put it during the break as well.
Definitely not like I hate my life. I hate what I'm doing. I'm so annoyed.
So I found the thing that I was looking for, which is awesome. Which is essentially as the Eldar were like fucking around with hedonistic lifestyles and doing like, new and fucked up things. So basically they're pushing boundaries, Like who hasn't done that? Sorry. That took me to a scene in oh god, it's that detective FMV game, and it's like there's a dude out in anyway, it's an FMV game where you play a detective, and there's a dude out in the woods like shoving a spike into his hand against a tree.
Oh.
And he's like, and the detective's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, pushing boundaries. It's like, okay.
It's avant-garde, damn it.
I'm arresting you or being stupid, and that's kind of what needed to happen to the Eldar. Like,
Right.
basically, a galactic detective needed to turn up and basically, like, look at what the Eldar was doing and be like, stop that, or I will arrest you.
You're gonna go to jail.
I mean, where's Steve when you need him? He could have done that.
Oh, I can't do much, can he really? Poor useless Steve.
Or he can withhold coffee and pizza.
Well, he doesn't withhold it, he just doesn't buy it.
Yeah, it's true. So the planet I was talking about before,
Yes,
was called Belial 4.
Belial 4.
And
Okay.
on Belial 4, a cult appeared, and its priests preached the coming of a new Eldar god.
Right.
In reality, the head priest of the cult was a demon of chaos.
Oh no.
And was possessing the priest and basically preparing the coming of Slaanesh.
Oh yeah, let's go. Let's have a new god.
And he basically got up on his milk box and he was like, "Yo, we've got gods. Let's get a new one. This one is awesome.
This one's really cool. You'll love it."
Yeah.
Got it.
And because the Eldar were already kind of heading down the route of Slaanesh, the cults started popping up everywhere, all over like Eldar worlds and everything. But started on Belial 4, where like it was like really pointless knowledge and pursuit of just extremes of knowledge, like any type of sensual pleasures and yes, the meme sexual gratification, and then they started sacrificing children and torturing each other and a whole load of horrific things. You know that meme of like I'm going to hunt the most dangerous game in the world. Man,
yeah.
They did shit like that where they were like, the Eldar are the most dangerous thing. I shall hunt Eldar, and then they run around like hunting their own people.
Oh well.
For sport and
I imagine it would be difficult. So.
And they did it with other sentient species and stuff as well. It's like
That's less cool.
So basically, this demon dude who's possessing a priest.
Does he not even have a name?
Shanagathon, harbinger of Slaanesh.
What a champ!
I assume he didn't know that the god he was summoning was called Slaanesh.
I think he did. I think he was.
Well, no, because Slaanesh didn't exist until I'm assuming he got that name later. As
okay, fine. I guess it
that
can
would
be a
that would
nameless
be
god.
my guess. So he prepared a big ritual to usher in the new age of even higher heights of pleasure and rapture and sensual whatever. sensual gratification. And as all the Eldar like took part in the ritual, and the Eldar created a god. Well, no, to be fair, it was a demonic ritual that they were like a part of, but essentially, yeah, they did
were
have a hand in creating it. However, what actually happened is a significant portion of the area got kind of like taken over by the Immaterium, by the warp. Slaanesh like fucking burst onto the scene like, hey, give me your souls, and just started eating everyone's souls.
Love it. They were hungry.
So millions of Eldar were consumed, and the remainder basically went insane and just killed each other and destroyed everything.
I just had a little vision, which is ridiculous, of,
Yeah.
you know, like little birds when they're first born and they just pop their head out of the egg and they need to eat the egg for the nutrients. That's Slaanesh, but the nutrients are the Eldar.
Essentially, yes. That is a good description.
Like, oh, it's so cute and murderous.
At the end of this, we'll have to have you do a all of the episodes we've done in a nutshell, where you take all this stuff I've been talking on for hours and just put it in like, you know, a minute
In
of like
Tash
basically.
terms. So
Yeah.
this happened, and the end, and everyone's like, "Well, you're not wrong."
So
Oh,
apologies.
you are not forgiven. How dare
Oh.
you?
Damn.
Okay, carry on.
But yeah, no. Basically, there were some survivors who like pieced out on
On the ritual,
on the Craftworlds.
right?
They were basically, they weren't as good as the Exodites in the sense of, oh hey, you know, we shouldn't do this shit. They were just like, oh god, something bad's happening, run. So that was the Craftworlds.
Like,
The
they didn't mean
Exodites,
for us to get in trouble.
yeah. The Exodites essentially fucking DD'd off, and you know, before any of this happened, enough that they were like further away from the core of what was happening, and you know.
No, thank you. I'm out.
There was one craft world which was called Altanzar, which escaped the like soul sucking and Slaanesh going crazy and everyone killing each other. But then when with the Eye of Terror like bursting onto the scene, essentially got pulled into the gravity well, and for like 500 years was fighting demons and trying to get out of the gravity well of the Eye of Terror, and then essentially got swallowed. And only one Eldar on that craft world survived.
Swallowed by what? By the warp?
Yeah, by the warp, yeah.
Oh. The way you said it, I was like, it could have been swallowed by a chaos thing.
Yeah, no, it could have been swallowed by something. But yeah, no, it was essentially only one Eldar survived from that craft world. I'm not sure if it's a guy or a girl, but they're called Morgan Ra, the Harvester of Souls. Ah, right. He is he's a what they call Dark Reaper. Dark Reapers are fun. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
So yeah, and then all the other craft worlds kind of were like, no, run, and then just ran away. One of the
How do they drive a craft world away?
It's a big city ship, essentially.
Right, okay. Yeah, I can envision it. But
Yeah.
I was just for a second, I was like, giant rockets? Carry on.
It's always a little hard to tell with the Eldar, like male or female, but you know, it's
Okay, this is...
I just go by it's like this person said this and he, and I'm like, oh, he,
Said
okay.
they.
Yeah.
They were a
So
badass.
the biggest and like the biggest craft world with the most people on was called Eandon.
Right? Yeah.
And it was like, let's just fucking piece out of like this core of horrible like Eye of Terror, and this is kind of all our fault. Let's go into like outer borders and just drift in space for a while and really think about what we've done. And they were like, yeah, we'll chill out here, and something dangerous is going to happen out here. So we'll make sure that whatever it is doesn't really, come to pass. We'll help out. And then High Fleet Behemoth turned up, which is one of, I think it's the first invasion by Tyranids.
Oh, it's
Just like a massive,
Tyranids.
yeah, just a massive High Fleet turned up and was like, "Yay, hungry!" And Steve was there, and he was like, "Hey, I found some friends. Does anyone want to?"
Brought them to meet you.
I did actually get pizza. I swear, but they ate it.
And then they ate the pizza man, so I can't get more. Oh.
And essentially, Eandon had some issues with the Tyranids.
Yeah,
After
no,
they decided to.
I can see why that would be.
And then like 200 years after that, the High Fleet Kraken turned up, and it like in around the same area, I think, or like wherever Eandon was, and they were like, okay, we've had the Tyranids turn up before. We're gonna stay and fight them, and they like got all their forces, and they summoned an Avatar of Cain, and they're all like every single Eldar on Eandon was basically, given armor and made ready to fight. And I'm pretty sure it almost, like the entire craft world almost fell.
Oh man, that would have just on the craft worlds. So what do they get on with? Like they're building more ships, expanding, building more.
They're not really expanding. They're just kind of trying not to die and lose their souls to Slaanesh.
Yeah, sorry, they're just legging it. Okay.
Yeah, like the thing is it's called the Fall of the Eldar.
But when you
like
said like craft worlds, every time I think of that, I always think of what are they crafting? What are they making? Where are they going with it? Kind of.
well,
What are they?
they're crafted worlds, and they're also worlds that are also crafts. So they're like ship worlds, spaceship worlds,
Right.
essentially.
Crafting to me is always the hobby kind of crafting.
Right.
That
makes sense.
rather than spacecraft. Oh, that makes more sense now.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you making? Like, I never hear of them building giant robots. Just imagine them churning out ships. Oh dear, sorry.
But yeah, essentially, their leader who had left, I think he got pissed off with them, or like they had some problems, and he essentially left and like became a corsair, like basically an Eldar pirate. Not really a like Craftworld Eldar. And just as all seemed like, just as it seemed like the Craftworld was going to get destroyed, he turned up with his corsairs and destroyed the Tyranid fleets, a lot of the vessels, and then joined in the fight on the Craftworld, and basically managed to kill the leader Tyranid, and that essentially like breaks the cohesion a bit. Managed to destroy the Hive fleet that was attacking. Unfortunately, because this is 40k, like 4/5 of the population died.
Oh, well.
So it's still the biggest craft world. It's kind of ruined, and it does not. There's not many Eldar left on there. So
they can't have everything. It's still functional.
Yeah. and that's essentially like the whole chain, a kind of chain of events from, to give you an idea of what happened after the fall of Slaanesh.
Birth of Slaanesh.
Sorry, the birth of Slaanesh, the fall of the Eldar.
I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to paint this helmet. Like, I'm pretty. When did Slaanesh fail? Huh. I don't know this story.
One of the reasons that the one of the reasons that the Eldar were kind of like responsible, I guess, for the birth of Slaanesh was just purely because they were much more tied to the warp. This is like going back to the old ones now. Essentially, one of the things that was like the Achilles heel, the kryptonite of the Catan, was psychers and warp, connection to the warp.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very probable that the old ones like fostered that connection that they didn't have, but the Eldar did, and a few of the other like younger races had. And so when Slaanesh was born, like eating all of those souls of the Eldar, instead of them like going back into the Immaterium, becoming one with the Immaterium and then being reborn, they essentially just went straight into Slaanesh's belly and made Slaanesh super strong and buff.
It's not ideal for the Eldar, but for everyone else, I'm a fan of. I mean, I'm biased, so I'm like, yay!
Well, I mean, it's yeah. No,
I'm just to be biased.
Because the thing is
plus they were mean.
Well, the Eldar, yes, they're kind of assholes. But the problem is the birth of Slaanesh caused the Eye of Terror, the rip in reality, and basically it's not called. Is it called the Age of Darkness? I think it's called the Age of Darkness. Essentially, when all worlds all over the everywhere were like just everything went dark and everything, all the worlds were isolated. Everything bad happened. That's essentially when the Emperor was like a little bit after that. The Emperor started to turn up, and he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna conquer Terran, and then I'm gonna go and conquer the galaxy."
Well, I have opinions on him.
Oh,
for those of you that don't know, I'll tell. Like, for those of you that don't know, the Warhammer stuff I have played, I played an astropath, so grumpy about the Emperor, and a worshipper of Slaanesh. So I'm like, yay! Go Slaanesh!
Yeah. So yeah, it's essentially all of the Craftworld Eldar are like a little bit later than the Exodites, but they basically saw the direction the Aeldari Empire was taking.
Okay, and
so that's why they built the giant Craftworlds, the ship worlds, let's say.
Ship. Now that I know what it is,
yeah,
it's there.
Now, yeah. So I'm just so used to knowing what they are. It never occurred to me that
I don't.
Yeah. They essentially built the craft worlds like a little bit before the fall of the Eldar and the birth of Slaanesh.
Mm-hmm.
So they were able to get away, but yeah, as I said, they were basically just fleeing. And then obviously some of the Eldar were chilling away in Komarog and in the Webway. And honestly, like the ones in the Webway were kind of like horrific assholes, essentially. And they basically, like, when Slaanesh was born, they started to realize that you don't need a soul stone. We'll go into soul stones in a moment, but they were like, you don't really need a soul stone to stop your soul being consumed by Slaanesh. You can just torture people and do horrific things to them, and they take your place.
Oh,
So,
good.
yeah. So there are worse things than the Eldar, and those are other Eldar.
Yeah. They're so rude, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they really kind of are.
Like, so rude. Sorry.
But yeah, it eventually Slaanesh born. Now, what we'll talk about now is, I think the Spirit Stones is probably a good one to touch on.
Yeah, they've been mentioned a few times, and I'm just... What day at?
So it's essentially like a small gem. If you look at your the like head of your banshee,
I was painting some green. Yeah, it's got a big old one on the front, but it's also got...
Yes.
How many other gems has it got? I have to buy extra paints for these gems.
It's the big
got
one.
a few.
The big one on the front is the Spirit Stone, the Waystone, etc., etc. Essentially, what that does is instead of when they die, their soul going into the Immaterium, which would allow Slash to Slash.
Which is like the third time you've done that.
Hello, I am Slash. I almost was birthed, but not quite. I am now here trying to consume Eldar.
It's like an orc version, isn't it? I can't say Slaanesh, so I say Slash.
I can't say Slaanesh, so I just say Slash.
And it definitely says the full name properly as well.
yeah, because it's an orc. Yeah, essentially what it does is when they die, their soul or the psychic part of them that gets absorbed into the Immaterium is trapped in the stone.
Okay.
Which means it doesn't go and get consumed by Slaanesh, also known as Slash. It can then the stone can then be brought to the Craftworld and like basically embedded into the Craftworld, which is like a wraithbone thing, which then grows into like a spirit stone. Kind of like an egg.
So the
almost,
spirit stone grows into a spirit stone?
Yeah, well, essentially what happens is once the spirit stone so I think it's supposed to be called a waystone to begin with, and then once it's activated and there's an Eldar soul in it, it's a spirit stone because there's a spirit in it now.
Okay.
But because of the way Wraithbone works, Wraithbone is very kind of like reactive to the warp and to I think it's Wraithbone is part of the reason they can travel through the Immaterium and the warp and be safe, because Wraithbone is like inherently warp built. I think we can go into Wraithbone in a moment.
Yeah, I don't know what Wraithbone is. It's a color.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of these things I mentioned will also be colors.
Yeah.
It basically adds to the, let's call it, matrix of the Craftworld. So essentially, it's very, very much like being put into the matrix. There's no like virtual reality, but they can like kind of combine with all the other Eldar there, become part of the Craftworld, and they kind of exist within the Infinity Circuit.
Right.
Which
so they're not dead. They're not eaten by Slaanesh. They're just...
Well, they are dead, yes.
Online
they die
now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're not when they're consumed, they basically cease to exist in any form. Their souls are eaten. Their psychic remnants are gone.
Are they like aware in the Matrix, or no?
I would say to some degree. It may be a little bit of not a hive mind, but like a collective consciousness.
Yeah.
which is what a hive mind is, I know, but it's a bit, as far as I'm aware, it's a bit less slavey and a lot more like spiritual and, you know.
This is really difficult. I'm not gonna lie. There's certain things in this paint in this model that are not in the example, so I'm just gonna have to take a guess.
And it's essentially, once they're part of the infinity, once they're part of the infinity circuit, once they're part of the craft world and everything, they are like a collective consciousness, but they have a potential to be individual and like become themselves again, as it were. So there's kind of like a rebirth thing vibing around there at the same time.
Sorry, that was what I was wondering, because if they became part of it, like, could they ever be out of it again, or is it just sort of becoming part of their community of not being alive?
I mean they can definitely they can definitely like potentially come back, but you know there's no way to. I think part of the whole new god thing is the hope for the like rebirth of the Eldar,
Right.
and then like their heroes can come back and their, you know, their families, and you know, so understandably spirit stones are like don't touch that shit.
They're like,
you know,
they're precious, aren't they?
yeah, like Eldar will legitimately invade a world just for a couple of them and be like, the Imperial Guard are like, why are these fucking weird ass freaks attacking us? And it's like, oh, we found a couple of stones, cool. I'm so glad that they murdered millions of Imperial Guard for this kind of thing. So
I mean, what if they deserve it? It's fine.
yeah. Like sometimes, such is the fate of the god. It's very true. Sometimes the spirit stones get put like kind of inserted into constructs, like very similar to dreadnoughts. But like, you know, those really big Eldar vehicles.
Yeah.
They get put into them sometimes, and it's kind of like artificial intelligence almost.
Right. I was gonna say, what kind of benefit does that have? But that makes sense.
Yeah.
Can other people utilize them, or is it like an Eldar thing that they can put soul stones into?
Yeah, it's an Eldar thing.
Right. Because I was gonna say, obviously, if the other factions were able to get hold of them, then they would fight back for them, right? If they had those benefits, but because they don't, then that makes sense.
It's a lot like the Eldar Maiden Worlds. The Eldar Maiden Worlds are basically places that are like almost like Eldar home worlds, which they perfected. And so if you're ever playing a game of 40k and your GM is like, you go down to this planet, it is so beautiful and wonderful and lovely. You go, oh, this is an Eldar Maiden World. Let's leave before they turn up and kill us for trespassing.
I don't like this.
So like sometimes it can take thousands of years, but sometimes there's like ancient gods and things like that.
And they might just take umbrage at us being there anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Well, yeah.
Chase them down. They're on our planet. They now know too much.
The other interesting thing about the spirit stones is there's only one place you can get them.
And that place is
like get new ones. Is the Eldar, you know, the core Eldar homeworlds.
Oh, yeah, so it does need to be protected.
Well, no, but like the main worlds are slightly different. Those ones kind of were the places where the seat of their power was, as opposed to like their homeworld type things. Essentially, where Slaanesh was born. So the Eye of Terror.
Oh. Oh no.
Yeah.
And they have to risk, like, to get more, because obviously they don't have a.
They don't have endless. I
Endless
don't think they
supply.
can make them anymore, as far as I'm aware.
They just like
Not
casually
100%
forget.
on that one. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, no, that seems like the perfect thing to forget how to make.
Yeah, so they basically have to wander into the Eye of Terror, fight demons, and then try and get new spirit stones, which is not fun.
Little stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think. Why? So if
What's up?
I'm thinking about this. So if it just dies generally, and the Eldar spirit goes into the warp, then it will be eaten. Definitely.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And my brain was like, well, you don't want to get captured by the demons of Slaanesh or anything, but like just everyone. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm starting to feel a little bit more sympathy.
Yeah, no,
for
like
them.
we'll go into how the Eldar are assholes more. But like I think like even the Dark Eldar you can feel a little bit sorry for. Like not really because they're horrific, just terrible existence. But you know.
I'm just. I don't want to feel sympathy for them, but I am a little. They don't like. Not all of them have were involved. The same with the Oh my god, I've forgotten the planet name. Paintbrushes. Sorry.
Which one? Oh god, which one?
the the ones that were like, no, let's not do death cults. We're just gonna have a nice feudal existence and have dinosaurs.
The Exodites.
Exodites. What happens with the Exodites if they die? Did they have to have soul stones just in case, or
No,
are they
good?
They
they were essentially disconnected from the
right,
Eldar.
completely. Okay.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, it's possible. I don't think so.
Okay. They deserve a good life. I don't know if that's true.
They have world spirits. Well, that is. But no. Essentially, like going off all of this, we go to Yanid, who's the new Chaos God, who's new Chaos God, new Eldar God,
Chaos.
who's. I mean, fuck the way 40k runs, it may be a new Chaos God.
I just keep thinking of that name as Sinead.
Yeah, it's close.
So I'm like, okay, I know how to spell that.
O'Connor, the famous singer.
Maybe, it depends on what she got up to. They got up to, I suppose.
So Yanade is the Eldari god of the dead and is currently in the process of being created.
Yeah.
And has kind of like been half created. This goes into like really recent lore where there's a huge rift in reality that separates the galaxy. It's like split the galaxy in half. And that's like the warp has just basically like ripped the galaxy in half, and there's like a huge rift through the galaxy.
When did that happen?
Kind of recently.
But like,
we won't go into it because there's a whole big thing. But essentially, have you heard of Cadia?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
and
I have.
What happened?
The fall
and what
of
happened to Cadia? Yeah, basically that whole thing. It's a whole thing with Necrons and the Imperium and the Mechanicus and these big pylons, which were supposed to close the warp. Abaddon was there too.
I'm using his paint now, so
yeah.
What a champ.
Well, are you a champion if you failed to do something 12 times?
If you keep trying,
He succeeded on the 13th try, I guess. So.
Ooh, lucky.
Yeah. To be fair, his goal. I don't think his goal on all of the Black Crusades were what he did in the 13th. But yeah, he kind of failed a lot, and people started calling him Failbadon.
Oh.
We'll talk about Abaddon sometime. He was you know of the Horus heresy, right?
I know of it.
Yeah, he was basically Horus's like second in command.
Okay. I just don't feel bad for people. They're bullied in the 40k universe.
Oh yeah,
What kind
yeah,
of level
absolutely.
do you have to be at to be bullied by all these factions that are like, we birthed a new god and it eats
So
us?
the infinity circuits of the craft worlds, basically, when enough Eldar souls are in all of these infinity circuits, they were hoping that a new god would emerge, which is Ynid. And what essentially is happening now is the Eldar who die, their consciousness, instead of going into spirit stones and that type of thing, is now basically joining Ynid.
I really feel like she's gonna be evil.
I hope so. It'd be hilarious.
They just they should just stop messing around with gods. You know, leave them alone.
I know. Like, but at least they're not having like pleasure cults and torture
That you
cults.
know of yet.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, it's very possible that they are. But it's essentially when the Great Rift happened, and during that kind of time, Ynid basically partially awoke in the warp. One of the like followers of Ynid, someone called Yvrain, basically was like, look, we can merge Eldar who have died with Ynid, basically making Ynid stronger, and also meaning that we don't need spirit stones or to like torture people, and basically like called for the Eldar and the Dark Eldar, like anyone, to come and join what they now call the Ynnari. So the Ynnari are the new like faction of Eldar who are basically like, fuck spirit stones, fuck torturing people to avoid being consumed by Slaanesh. This is how we're going.
I kind of like that. I think that's gonna be that's really interesting.
Yeah, no, it is, and say what you want about the Eldar being fucked over on the tabletop, because they have been. But it's kind of cool, and it means that like there are legitimately Drukhari like Dark Eldar who are like, yeah, okay,
and like join. Oh, okay.
yeah. If and this is not even slightly true, but if the Eldar are Jedi and the Drukhari are Sith, then the Ynnari are kind of like grey Jedi, that kind of like in between.
Yeah.
They're not light, they're not dark.
They're just folks with force powers and training.
But yeah, it's essentially it's the hope of the Eldar race in general that this will be them stopping their inevitable like descent into death and extinction.
It's not going to go well for them, let's be honest.
Maybe.
It's 40k.
Yeah, no, it is 40k, and like when we start talking about the Imperium, it's going to get really interesting because there's some fucked up stuff in the Imperium.
I feel bad for them, kind of.
Yeah.
But they just need to stop. Just leave it alone.
I'm not 100. I didn't see this during my research, but I remember this from like a lore video or something I watched. By the way, everyone should watch lore videos, especially these ones.
You know, how far are we in?
Yeah. But I remember a story about, it may have been a Primarch of the Space Marines who they were in a situation where there were some Eldar with them, there were some Space Marines with them, and everyone was all kind of angry. And the Eldar was like, "Fuck you, Monkai." It's what Eldar call humans. They call them Monkai. Like, "Fuck you, Monkai. We're not gonna help you because we're assholes and we're much better than you." And then It's essentially I think it was a Primarch. One of the Primarchs was like, "Aha! But we have these Spirit Stones or something. I'll give them to you if you stop being assholes." And they were like, that kind of anime villain who turns good, where they're like, "I'm only helping you because I'm still superior to you," kind of thing. It's like, yeah, shut up and do the thing. So,
Why didn't they just kill them and take the soul stone?
well, the Primarchs are quite powerful. You don't really want to fuck with one, even if, like, unless you're like a super powerful Eldar, but probably a Psycho, maybe. But yeah, the Primarchs are not someone you fuck with in general. Although there are people who have. There's actually an assassin who killed a Primarch.
Okay, so but like then if it's only one person that you know of in this instance and they make a story of it, it can't be that common that they kill Primarchs. So
No, it's not.
I get it now. Okay. Okay, fine. We'll do the stupid work and help out for the soul stones. Less
So
murder.
that's Soul Stones. Wraithbone. So I'm just going over the things that we mentioned that not everyone will know about, and I know you're not sure exactly what they are. Wraithbone is essentially like crystallized psychic energy.
Oh.
It's very much. I'm assuming that the place this came from was like Tolkien elves, who also were called Eldar, by the way.
Oh.
It was like the name for their race. They were elves, but they called themselves the Eldar, I think, or something along those lines.
Inspiration.
Oh yes, but it's essentially it's a lot like singing wood. That's the whole elf thing.
Yeah.
Where instead of like going and cutting down woods like filthy humans, they can like use magic and sing like a fallen branch into a really nice bow or something.
Yeah, so it's okay.
So it's kind of similar to that, and there are essentially like multiple. What? Okay, so
I was gonna say, so they sing to this wraithbone.
well,
Psycho
no,
energy.
it's so they have different paths that you can go down. One of which is the path of the artisan, and essentially the artisans of the Eldar are ones who they're kind of psychers, and they use their psychic influence and everything to like bring forth like basically warp energy or the immaterium into reality and craft it into this wraithbone and craft it into what they want. That's how they made all of the Craftworlds. Is like ridiculous, a ridiculous number of craft artisans of I think they're called. Where is this? Yeah, they're called bone singers.
Oh. Move on from that, shall we?
Yeah. Known a few bone singers, but anyway.
Oh, have you? Good for
No.
you.
No.
No?
I'm trying to move on.
You return to it. Okay.
I just wanted to make a throwaway comment before we moved on.
You can't.
But yeah, they basically like can bring it forth and craft it and grow it and etc. So it's kind of like, because it's from the warp, it's kind of like psychically conductive, and that's why it kind of becomes a
What
sorry,
word are you
brain.
looking for?
It kind of becomes a
Conduit? storage?
The Infinity Circuit. It basically
Becomes part.
conducts all of the souls and the psychic energy of the Eldar from the Spirit Stones. Um, it also generates a psychic shield around it, around itself,
Yeah.
like Wraithbone. So spacecraft made from the Wraithbone is, you know, what, like, you know what, on Rogue Trader we had the Geller field, and if the Geller field started to fluctuate, it's like oh shit,
Trouble be
demon,
happening.
yeah. So it basically keeps the
Protection of the ship because it's built out of it, and protection of the Craftworld because it's built out of it. Okay.
And you know how, like, all of the associated Eldar, who, like, even the ones in the Craft world, in the Craft worlds, were kind of a little bit screwed by the birth of Slaanesh. The reason why they weren't consumed by Slaanesh is because of the Wraithbone, because it was all around. It was like a shield against the birth of Slaanesh, which is why the Craft world survived, but none of the, like, planetary Eldar survived.
Right. Well, smart cookies.
Yeah. So yeah, essentially that's Wraithbone. It gets used for a whole load of things. It's super useful, and it's one of the peak of kind of like Eldar technology and research and just everything that they kind of do. So
I'm doing very delicate, tiny, intricate paints, so it's hard work.
Would you like to take a moment, or
I just
we
have to
can...
like my nose is
All right.
touching my magnifying glasses. How close I'm getting.
Okay, so
I didn't want you to think I was ignoring you.
No. We've
not
kind of
involved.
gone over the Infinity Circuit as well. So I feel like that's I feel like we can also kind of cut over the majority of the, like, birth of Slaanesh and onwards.
Yeah, because we're going to talk about that in the
Yeah.
future, so we don't want to talk too comprehensively now. But
So basically, when Slaanesh was born, and this was kind of like early 30th millennium, so we're 40k, so 40k is, like, you know, I think 40k is almost 41k, interestingly. They're like right on the tip of 41,000 millennium. But yeah, it's basically when that kind of like ended the age of strife, and that's when everything got cut off, and everything was kind of bad.
Everything is bad.
And that's when there was like a long era of kind of like but essentially like the Dark Ages, and then the Emperor turned up and formed the Imperium, and then headed out and started conquering everything. That kind of like slowly brings us to where we are now. It's essentially when Slaanesh like devoured all these souls, you know, the majority of the Eldar were either consumed or just went insane and killed each other and like destroyed everything. So in a day, essentially, the entirety of the Eldar Empire destroyed itself, or was like destroyed.
Yeah, in a day. One day,
I mean, you know,
or like
when Slaanesh was born, it was essentially like, boom, Slaanesh born.
Like, what up? Kill each other. And give me your souls.
Yeah.
Nom nom nom. Crumpy little chick Slaanesh.
And like Slaanesh obviously was super powerful off all the frickin' souls that they consumed.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were like swallowed by the Eye of Terror too. So there was that.
Those are snacks for later.
Yeah.
Go in the picnic basket of the warp. The Immaterium.
So like the Eldar in close proximity, like a few thousand light years away, basically were consumed, and then a little further away, some went insane, some like destroyed themselves. But that was it. There were the Craftworlds, the Exodites, and we find out later the Dark Eldar. And the Eldar were essentially like doomed, pretty much. They still existed on Craftworlds and a few places, but
they're not as widespread and not as empire-y, I guess.
Oh, and sidebar, it wasn't just the Eldar who died. Like basically all other races were like fucked up as well by Slaanesh's birth. But like that's just.
But
whatever.
the Eldar just think about themselves. That's what you're saying.
Right.
Doesn't surprise me though. Sorry, big size. Oh.
And yeah, this will essentially get us talking to what becomes known as the Eye of Terror. But Slaanesh's birth ripped a hole in reality, like a dimensional rift, and chaos and the warp spilled out into reality, and basically like warped a whole load of worlds and claimed a whole load of worlds, and like people on there like demons like poured forth and all that type of thing.
Well, these things happen. It's not all the Eldar's fault. Just
Yeah, like because demons. I will talk about demons at some point, but demons can't exist for long outside of the warp.
Right. Okay.
So when demons appear, they need something to keep them going.
Like
be it like
them?
Rituals or So
what's that noise?
Yeah. Which noise?
That one. It's fine. So they need rituals, or can they just eat souls, or?
I think probably they eat souls, possibly. But I think it's more like there's like a rip in space, and they kind of
nip through for a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I should be able to exist without the foundry. So, essentially loads of Eldar planets were turned into demon planets, and there's like warp and murder and horrific things and all those type of stuff. Worshippers of chaos. Lovely times. And then for 10,000 years...
10,000 years.
For 10,000 years, the warp was like run rampant over the galaxy.
It's fine. It's not fine.
Oh no, sorry. Apologies. For 10,000 years before the birth of Slaanesh was when the warp was being all like crazy and shit, and it was hard for any of the races to travel around. I think the Eldar still could.
Because they're badass.
Well, because they had, better technology. And then essentially, like, the warp kind of chilled out after Slaanesh was born, and obviously all the murder and eating.
All the murder,
Oh yeah, they do also use the webway, which was the whole Old One's way around.
Yeah. Because which kind
of helps.
Help them out. Bet they didn't share it though. Haven't they learned anything?
And I think the funniest thing is like when all the warp storms dispersed, the Emperor of Mankind was like, "Hey, let's start a great crusade."
Well, he was probably a bit mardy about all these gods turning up and making everyone go mad.
Are you implying that the Emperor is not a god who turned up and made everyone go mad?
Yeah, but he's a hypocrite, as all people are, and so he's allowed to do it,
true,
but no one else.
It's fair enough. But yeah, basically the fall of the Eldar meant the rise of the Imperium and the Emperor of Man.
I hate him. He eats eyes.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't paint part of it. Okay, it's fine.
It's such a weird reason to hate the Emperor. He eats eyes.
He does eat eyes.
What a dick.
And lots of astropaths. But you know.
Well, it's not astropaths specifically, psychers more than, yeah.
I know, but my eyes. What paintbrush?
My eyes. So yeah, after the fall, the Eldar are on Craftworlds. You got the Exodites, who are just basically like preppers,
chilling, having a nice time, nice life.
I really like the idea of the Exodites being like you get doomsday preppers in for us in reality in the real world. And they're like hiding in a bunker somewhere, and they're like, one day all this will be destroyed. I just love the idea of the Exodites being like, I told you.
What's he doing here?
I warned you thusly.
Well, they probably didn't. Well, I don't know. Did they tell everyone, or were they just like, we're just gonna go? We're just gonna live our own lives of no cultism?
I imagine they told people, but everyone was like, "Ha, lol."
But they were judgy too. Like, you can't just torture people all the time.
Yeah.
Why not, Karen?
Are the Eldar's Karens?
Those ones are the judgy.
The judgy ones.
I can't laugh and paint.
the Exodites.
They're all Karens.
Karen preppers.
All their hair, like this hair on the Howling Banshee, all the Exodite hair is the Karen. This is my contribution to the law.
No, I like it because you know, when you add in the whole feudal dinosaur riders, you just get this image of like a Karen on a freaking T-Rex just being like, oh
dear.
But yeah, it's essentially after that there's the Dark Eldar, the Exodites, the Craftworld Eldar, just kind of surviving, I guess.
Are they not? Well, I know they're very protective of the Craftworlds.
Yeah.
Do you want to? Can we touch on why the Dark Eldar want to hang out there, or is that a Dark Eldar question?
Well, hang out in. They're essentially in part of the webway.
Well, I mean, like they want to destroy Craftworlds.
They're just kind of like, so the whole thing about the Dark Eldar is they found a way different from the Eldar.
Yeah, the Eldar found the Soul Stones. I just tried to move my glasses then, and I'm wearing contact lenses.
Oh.
So I'm not wearing glasses.
Okay.
Oh dear. So Dark Eldar found the Eldar found their Soul Stones. The Dark Eldar found all the torture to like.
Yes.
The tortured person replaces their death eating.
Yeah. Essentially, they kind of like leech psychic energy off people by torturing them and doing horrific things. Have you seen the Dark Crystal?
No.
Oh, okay. There's the Skeksis in the Dark Crystal. Essentially, sorry, I'm looking at the stream and it's just like a blurred picture of your thumb.
What? It shouldn't be blurred. It's not my thumb.
Well, no, it was because it was like really close up to the camera.
I know, it's hard to paint.
I know. You're getting a super difficult angle to do, so it's fine.
It's all detailed and
it just made me laugh. But no, it's essentially they like suck the life out of other beings to like substitute for Slaanesh instead of their souls. I think like obviously once you've been doing that for tens of thousands of years, it just kind of becomes a lifestyle. But I think originally it was like a way they found to do it that was better than like being put into a gem, essentially.
Oh, I just did a boo-boo. But why? I mean,
Hey, boo boo.
so when they die,
Yeah.
what happens to them? Because if they don't go into gem, and I guess they could just go into the Materium and chill out. Do they get reborn or?
I'm not 100% sure. We can I can go look for that if you like.
That's
but
Dark Eldar research. My apologies.
I feel yeah, that I feel like that would be the Dark Eldar.
Yeah, that's fine. But
I would imagine they like at a guess they probably just get eaten by Slaanesh, but that's why they try not to die. I do also think there's a they can like regrow themselves from if they have like a pinky finger.
ugh.
They can basically like have people torture, have other Dark Eldar torture people until they regrow themselves. I think I'm not sure if that works or not, but
I mean,
I remember reading something vaguely about that.
they could believe it, right, and then hope for the best, but they don't actually know
Yeah.
if the souls protect them from Slaanesh's hunger. I suppose that makes sense. Paranoid about the camera angles now.
Oh, okay. I think their souls weren't consumed when they're in the webway, basically, because obviously the webway is kind of like like different protections and it's essentially like they kind of had their souls slowly drained, so they have to like almost like a bucket with a hole in.
They have to speedrun being reborn. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, no, you just like or like you just have to keep. Yeah, imagine yourself in a boat with a small like crack where the water's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
You have to keep it's just you on the ship, so you just have to keep bailing and keep the water out. That's kind of similar for the Dark Eldar, because they were in the webway, because they were kind of like kind of shielded. They essentially need to stop their souls from being sucked out by Slaanesh.
That's
So I assume when they die,
tiresome afterlife.
well, I don't know if you enjoy what you do.
I think it's break time.
Yes, we're about to go on to the Eldar paths.
Ooh.
So
Paths. Okay.
yes.
Okay. Quick break.